First of all, we did have Powell, do a press conference and basically talk about how, yeah, no rate cut this time, but really, really possible in September. Basically, it's baked in. It's almost like 100% that there will be a rate cut in September. And of course, this morning I talked about how Bank of Japan had to do so because of their debasing of their currency, and Bank of England tomorrow will make a decision, and ECB has already done so. I mean, bottom line is it's kind of a mess all over the place. Okay, countries around the world are looking to cut rates simply because economies around the world are sucking. Okay, and they need to bring liquidity back, get people to start spending, try to make numbers look better, right? But overall, supposedly inflation numbers are coming down and they're lower. So basically, Powell says, yeah, you know, if things continue the way they are, well, then a rate cut is going to come in September, right? And he also said that there was a real discussion about whether or not they should have cut this meeting. There was a real discussion, but it didn't happen as expected, right? I will say this. The last few times, if you guys remember, when we had FOMC meetings, for whatever reason, Bitcoin tanked, it dipped, it dumped. The last few has always been like this, right? So this in itself is a reason why. And I kind of said this a couple days ago where I anticipated that, yeah, usually after an FOMC meeting, you have a dip, right? And it carries into Friday. So tomorrow, seeing how it's Thursday, we may get a continuation of this. Maybe not too much, or maybe we just kind of stall out. But the last few FOMC meetings have been like this, where Powell basically said no rate cut, and the market just kind of goes down, and then over the weekend we start recovering back up again. So that could be the case this time around. However, that's not the only thing. Okay, today we also had some tensions in the Middle East come up, and again, whenever it involves Middle East, it's tricky, right? Tricky because we have countries that's been at war for decades, centuries. I don't even know. So today, supposedly, the Iranian leadership says they're going to retaliate against Israel. So obviously, this conflict has been ongoing for a long, long, long time, but recently it's been escalating, and this came out, and Bitcoin also dipped, right? I don't know. Maybe the Middle East does hold a large amount of Bitcoin. It makes sense because Iran has all these sanctions placed against it, and maybe they've been loading up on Bitcoin over the last few years, and now they're selling it off to pay for war. I don't know. Kind of makes sense if you think about it, right? But whenever we hear about tension in the Middle East, we tend to see Bitcoin struggle a little bit. So maybe that does have something to do with it. But nevertheless, I think it's these two things. You have some tension in the Middle East, and of course the FOMC meeting with Powell. That's always a thing, right? But you know what? Better days are coming. That's what I always say. Better days are coming. You just have to have a little patience. Okay, remember that bill that Senator Lummis introduced at a Bitcoin conference to establish a strategic Bitcoin reserve, purchasing up to 5% of all Bitcoin in circulation? Yeah, that is being introduced, right? And if that's the thing, if that actually becomes law, this will spur massive buying from all countries because then basically there's a war to accumulate as much Bitcoin as possible. That's what this means, right? So if this gets introduced, this would be absolutely amazing. Purchasing up to 5% of reserves, 5% of Bitcoin, and then also holding it for 20 years. Do you know how high Bitcoin will be in 20 years? I don't even know. I have no idea, right? So better days are definitely coming, after a new administration. Not saying that it's going to be Trump, but whatever new administration that comes in could be definitely very pro crypto, which is a big change because over the last however many administrations, pretty much crypto has been, redheaded stepchild or seen as a criminal network, but that doesn't seem to be the case going forward. So that will definitely change big things. And speaking of Trump, Trump is launching Bitcoin shoes. He's fully aware that there are a lot of rich Bitcoin donors out there. So he had NFT collections before. Now he is launching Bitcoin shoes, obviously AI generated, but what's not AI generated is he raised $21 million at the Bitcoin conference, selling private seats to a dinner at 800,000 each. That's quite a lot. That's quite a lot. I don't think that 21 million was accidental though. That's definitely on purpose, right? So besides Trump and a new administration, a new bill, we know that there are still a lot of institutions that are buying, right? So today, ETFs, BlackRock, we don't have numbers, but good thing is Grayscale seems to have sold none today. Today's the last day of the month. We're starting August tomorrow, right? We'll get the official numbers, but so far this month hasn't been bad. There's been more inflows than outflows, and BlackRock continues to buy and buy and buy. BlackRock themselves are buying, institutions are buying, right? And even Ethereum is starting to turn green. Ethereum ETF yesterday had a positive inflow. Today we had another outflow, but again, it comes down to BlackRock. Did they have a massive buy today? Quite possibly, right? So again, things are going to turn around. I know it sucks. I know it sucks. I hate to see my portfolio. I hate to see Bitcoin come down too, right? But we're not at levels we haven't seen before. Just earlier this month, we fell down to 53,000. So obviously, we're still way above that. But it does suck to see Bitcoin come down, and I realize that. But ultimately, just remember this, guys. Okay, with everything that's going on, I've said this before, I'll say it again, with all the FUD, with all the volatility and everything that's going on, right? Ultimately, Bitcoin is moving according to plan. Okay, we are in the next bull run. We just haven't started a parabolic phase yet, but you could see we're right about to. Every single halving cycle, we usually have to wait about 5 to 6 months before we see a real movement. And we're getting closer and closer to that, right around the September timeframe, and that just happens to be when the first rate cut will happen, right? But if you look at all the previous cycles, this is where we are. We're about to get into the parabolic phase. You just have to be careful, well, patient and careful, right? And it just so happens every time Bitcoin starts going up is when gold tops out. Every single time. Just look at it, right? Is that a coincidence? No, because people are selling off gold to buy Bitcoin, right? And ultimately, again, another zoomed out chart that's showing that Bitcoin is again doing exactly the same thing as it has been doing in previous cycles. We are moving according to plan. So definitely not time to be panicking, and do not fall for the FUD. It's really that simple. Okay. So even though we dipped down today because of Middle East and because of Powell, right? There are still so many good things to look forward to, and nothing will stop Bitcoin. That is all. If you want to comment on anything I've said in this video, make sure you head over to the Roundtable. The Roundtable is a new social media platform created for conversations. And best of all, it's spam-free, bot-free, unlike here on YouTube. And you could have conversations with me and others like Altcoin Daily, Scott Melker, Mauro Nafal, and many others are joining daily. And you also get rewarded in tokens for doing so. So check out the new Roundtable. Click the link in the description below.